Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keep Kicking Martial Arts Podcast, where I have martial arts conversation with my martial arts friends. Today is a new one again for me. I sat down and had a conversation with Bella, whom I had not met until this conversation. Um, and she has a bunch of stuff going on. I want you all to make sure you check out the description. The show notes is going to have where you can find her. Um, if you're a traveling martial artist and you make it down to where she is in the world, somewhere in Florida, I hope that you check her out. I hope that you go stop in and say hi and have a little workout with her. Um, this writing comes to us uh, because of the time that we are currently facing. Promise me, promise me this day, while the sun is just overhead, even as they strike you down with a mountain of hate and violence. Remember, brother, man is not your enemy. Just your pity, just your hate, invincible, limitless hatred will never let you face the beast in man. And one day, when you face this beast alone, your courage intact, your eyes kind, out of your smile will bloom a flower, and those who love you will behold you across 10,000 worlds of birth and dying. Alone again, I'll go on with bent head, but knowing the immortality of love. And on the long, rough road, both sun and moon will shine, lighting my way. I have no housekeeping because I'm not doing that much anymore. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or ideas, if you want to call me a prick, if you want to tell me that I am wrong, you can do so at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. If you want to be on this little podcast of mine and tell your story, talk about your journey, you can reach me at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day and keep kicking.
Keep kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking, keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Keep Kicking, the martial arts podcast where I have martial arts conversations with martial arts people. And today I am sitting down with Bella. Bella, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Michelle Milo, or as most people know me, Bella. And I am the founder, and I started She Devil Jiu-Jitsu Club for ladies.
I like a name. She Devil. It's
Yep.
good. When did you get started in martial arts?
I started in martial arts, I want to say in 2017, after
Mhm,
watching everybody else in the family do jiu-jitsu. So I had been around probably since 2012-ish in the dojo. And then finally
mhm.
in 2017, I decided I was going to try it with my husband and quickly got addicted. And I have been a dojo rat since.
Wonderful. What made that jump for you?
So I was totally against it for those 6 years that I watched. My son started, then my daughter started, then my husband started. And I never had any interest in it. It just, my body hurt anyways. I would see how everybody was always injured. It smelled really bad in there. Um, I was like, you guys are way too close for each other. Like, why would you want to be up in each other's faces? But my husband and I think probably we were married around 18 years at the time, and it was time for us to find like an interest together of something that we could do together.
Mhm.
So I finally gave in. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I only want to be with you. Don't put me near anyone else. I don't want to roll with anybody. So we tried an open mat, and then I was able to try a Monday morning class, which at our dojo is a pretty laid back class. It's a lot of like 30s and 40-year-olds that have to go to work the next day. And I did that class, and I was like hooked immediately. I was just, your brain just goes somewhere else for that hour. So all the troubles in the world kind of go away, and you just get to focus on that. And I just started training like 5 or 6 days a week because my schedule allowed it at the time. So, I didn't have to work around a day job or something like that. So it was nice.
That's brilliant. Sorry. What keeps you going in martial arts?
Um, Right now, it's a lot of different things. It's definitely the fact that it's brought my husband and I closer. It gives us something to do
Hmm.
together. When we're not on the mats together, we're talking about the mats together. It's now given me this female community, which I always seem to bring ladies together in some form or fashion, whatever hobby it is that I'm doing at that time. And so when the ladies club started, now it's built this huge community of women also that um, indirectly, like it's very strange. They kind of look up to me. And so I don't want to let them down at that point. So that one definitely pushes me as well. And, just the fact that like I have grown children and they watch you and they respect what you do and stuff. So a lot of that stuff keeps me going. And just the fact that, like I said, you have that get away from everything that's stressing you outside of the mats when
Hmm.
you're there. So that definitely pulls me back every time.
Absolutely. This is martial arts is not a boys only club, but it does lend itself more toward men. And so, what advice could you give to any of the women that are just starting or perhaps not started yet and want to get started?
Sure. When I started until I was about a purple belt, so probably 4 years of my journey, I was
Hmm.
the only woman, and or maybe there was another one or two ladies that would pop in sporadically. So
Hmm.
I have a lot of jujitsu brothers. They beat me up really good over the years, and I would never trade training with them. And as far as it being a boys' club, I feel like myself and some other ladies have the same mentality, where we do feel like it's a men's it was a guy's place, and we appreciate the fact that we were accepted as the ladies, and they kind of treat us like they as one of the boys, which we love.
Hmm.
And then there are ladies that don't want to feel that way, and there's some women that will only train with women. They have no interest in training with men whatsoever. And I'm fine with that. That's why we have the ladies club. My gear with women starting is, I kind of laugh a little bit and I say it's like the gateway to jujitsu. So like I kind of get them in, and then I get them to like it, and then hopefully baby step them into training co-ed, because it
Hmm.
is so fun. And I hope that it builds their confidence to do those things. But if it's, if they've had trauma or some other thing, or just for whatever reason, if they're really tiny and they don't want to play with, those larger opponents, things like that. I think too, and I've seen it a lot lately in other people's like posts and such. Um, like reasoning of why a lady does come to jiu-jitsu, and it's the same with men. Like people come to jiu-jitsu for different reasons. It's not just people are coming to jiu-jitsu for self-defense. Like people
Hmm.
will say,
Hmm.
well, women should train with men also. They really should, or it's a detriment because they're not getting what they should out of self-defense. Well, maybe that lady didn't join jujitsu for self-defense. Maybe she joined it because she likes it as her fitness program and she likes being around other women. So I think it's
Hmm.
all different reasons, but I think it's just important to let them know that it is something that women can do, because I remember thinking, like when my husband was doing it and trying to talk me into it and I didn't see any women out there, I was like, it's not for girls, it's for dudes. And then
Hmm.
there was one gal, Kristen, that I saw out on the mat. She started before me, and I was like, okay, well, if she's out there, then maybe I can try it. And then, like I said, it just becomes addicting quickly. So,
Wonderful. Um, you know, there's an interesting, you have to study the history and you have to study the the culture that a martial arts comes from, because some martial arts are very much co-ed or integrated or even in some capacity women led. Like, Wing Chun is more of a woman's martial art in that women were detrimental, or not detrimental, were instrumental in helping create the art,
hmm
and whereas like jujitsu started as a samurai art,
hmm
and historically there weren't that many women samurai, and then when the Gracies adopted jujitsu, they weren't interested in having women study, so it made it more challenging to get women
hmm
involved. But it's wonderful that they're involved. It's great that you've started the club. Hopefully that does uh, it does help. It does move the needle. So do you teach this club, or do you just help organize getting the women together?
No, I started the teaching the club. I started my coach, my professor, Mike Geary, had been harassing me to start a
Hmm.
women's club for probably at least a year, and I kept denying him to go back to the women in jujitsu thing. I would tell him, well, first of all, there's no ladies here. How are we going to start a club? Like, what would we do a ladies class? We have no ladies. And the second
Hmm.
aspect
Hmm.
was, why would I want to segregate myself from the men? When you guys have accepted me here, why would I separate myself and create that separation? Um, and so I'm trailing off, and I apologize. But that's why
You're
I
fine.
started it, and so I teach. I teach. I started as a purple belt teaching. I started
Hmm.
more as like an uke. My husband was teaching as a purple belt at another school, and so I was always there with him. And then as a purple belt, I started teaching the girls, and now I am a two-stripe brown belt. So we've been running the club for 4 years. And it started with like maybe three girls would be at class. And now on Friday nights, we have sometimes 17, 18 ladies packed in a 10 by 12 room, beating each other up, and it's just this weird thing that's growing and growing. And I'm lucky enough that my classes are free at multiple
Hmm.
locations. So the schools are letting me offer that to the women. And I think that also helps to bring women in, is, and try it, and then either join another dojo if they want to do the additional training or just stay with me. So. but
No,
I
that's
teach at
great.
4 schools right now, and I
Absolutely
teach
great.
ladies only classes, but I also teach co-ed classes at a school in Clearwater, which is pretty awesome.
How do you get women in? Do you find it difficult to advertise to the niche?
Yeah, there, women have a lot of things going on. Like, and
Hmm.
I'm not dogging men, but it's easier
Right.
for a man in the evening time after he comes home from work to say he's going to go to the gym. And for women, typically we have to, finish getting the kids ready, make sure everybody's taken care of for dinner and stuff. So you have a hard time finding women to do jujitsu. Also, it's just this really weird thing where you would come in and pay somebody to like teach you to be beat up and get beat up. And so not every girl wants to do that. So it's like a special kind
Hmm.
of lady that does. But I find obviously social media has been a huge tool for me. Um,
Hmm.
so I make sure I always post class pictures and I do a lot of follow up with my girls. If somebody has come to a class and they don't show up, I message them and I'm kind of like an accountability partner. Like, why aren't you here? Are you going to be here tonight? That kind of thing. That I think makes people feel like they're gonna be missed at the mat. They're gonna be, it's not like, oh, I
Hmm.
don't need to go tonight. Nobody's even gonna notice if I'm not there. Well, we're gonna notice if you're not there. So show up at class, and that seems to
Hmm.
make you come more frequently. And then you just have, we try to have a lot of fun in class. So I love jujitsu. I love mean, nasty, smashy jujitsu. But I try to keep it really fun and light for women because I feel like sometimes the way co-ed classes are run is a little bit more intimidating for a lady. So I try to keep it to
Hmm.
where it kind of grabs their interest. And then, like I said, they'll either stay with the women if that's kind of where they're peaked, or they'll veer off and they'll be like, okay, I could maybe try this with some men.
Hmm. Well, have you noticed any fundamental differences between teaching women and teaching men?
I think women pick up technique a little quicker.
Hmm.
Um, As far as teaching them, no, not really. I think it's just an individual thing. I think you just have to be really patient. I find myself as a really structured teacher. I like to have somewhat of a game plan when I go in, and I like to do things in a specific order instead of having a really laid back class where I think it can veer people's brains off, and sometimes they just kind of get crazy. But no, not too much. I think the teaching men and women is pretty much the same.
Good. Do you, what took you to teaching?
My coach, I don't know why I'm calling him
No.
coach. I always call him professor. My professor, Professor Mike, pushing me for sure. Um, I don't know. I think maybe seeing people get jujitsu, like coming back the next week
Hmm.
and they've remembered a little bit of it, and then, or them coming back and saying, so I like to play with lapels a lot, and they'll come back and they'll tell
Hmm.
me, I got a lapel on somebody, or I set it up on somebody,
Nice.
and they're like so excited. And then, like, I always say, I'm a proud mama bear. Like, anytime they do something right, one of my little cubs, like, I'm just like so excited for them. So probably that.
That's wonderful. Do you find that teaching has helped your personal practice? And if so,
Absolutely.
how?
I think as far as jujitsu, teaching absolutely
Yes,
helps
yes,
you.
yes.
So I always set my mind to when I started teaching, I was going to teach things I know and things I like. I don't want to teach flashy YouTube things that I'm not comfortable with because I want to appear that I'm comfortable with the technique as I'm showing it. But even though I
Hmm.
know those techniques before class, typically I'm researching it and making sure that I know all of the points that I'm supposed to go over with them. And then the other thing, so I'm constantly like studying jujitsu if I'm not doing it myself. And the other thing is
Hmm.
when I see my professors now teaching maybe the same technique that I taught, and they're using the same terms that I just did or explaining it the same way, and then that really shows me like, man, I either really paid attention and I absorbed that and I just didn't realize it, and that's why I'm saying it that way. But that makes me feel like I've really learned a lot when I feel like they're explaining it the same way that I have explained it. I definitely think it makes you a better jujitsu practitioner in whole by teaching.
For sure. Have you ever competed?
I have not competed. I'm totally a
Okay.
hobbyist. I have been tempted only once. There's another wonderful women's program, Chick Jitsu, run by a friend of mine, Jeffa. And so she does ladies only tournaments. She's the only one, she started that. And she does really great matchups. So it's always kind of somebody your own size, age, and that type of stuff. And now that our club has grown, we've had a couple of times where we had like 15 of us out there. And that was the only time where I was kind of like, man, I kind of wish I was competing with these girls. I have
Hmm.
an ACL tear currently that I've been playing with for the last
Oh.
2 years since I tore it in Jiu-Jitsu. But I'm
Mm.
on a path and I don't want to fix it yet until I reach my black belt, and then I might set some time aside to get it fixed. So,
Okay. Okay. So you have to fix the injury, obviously. Do
yeah,
you have plans on competing after the injury's fixed?
not really.
No?
Again, I'm always been a hobbyist jujitsuer. I've seen my kids
Yeah, yeah.
compete. I've seen my husband compete. I've seen my teammates compete. I love to be there for them.
Hmm.
If I ever did compete, it wouldn't, I don't really have that competitive personality. I would certainly probably amp up my training a little bit, but I'd probably go in like it was any other
Hmm.
match and just show up and do whatever happened that day. So I just don't, I'm not really a
Sounds good.
competitive person by nature.
Sounds good. How has jiu-jitsu helped you outside of the dojo?
It makes you super comfortable in uncomfortable positions. Makes you realize that
Right.
things are going to pass. Like if you just if you just kind of wait, things will get
Hmm.
better. Um, it's made me a more humble person, I think. You have to be humble in this sport. You're getting beat up a lot, and you have to not be a baby
Hmm.
and, complain about it. Um, it's made me more patient in general. I definitely, when you start jujitsu, you hear all these people where, oh, jujitsu changed my life, um, you know, that kind of thing. And you're kind of like, oh, what a poo poo statement, or like, but it really is true. Like jujitsu changes you on the mats and off the mats.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, that's why we try to
No,
get
all
everybody to
martial.
drink the Kool-Aid.
Yep, got to drink the Kool-Aid. Every
Mhm.
martial arts, when done properly, does train or change us. Um, so what we call well, there's different classifications, and you you touched on it very, very briefly about how some people come in and they want to learn to defend themselves. Some people want to come in to learn to compete. Some people are, we call some people curators, because they're sort of like docents in a museum where they just like the art and the idea of the techniques. And so they're there just to learn the techniques and be sort of historical preservationists for the techniques themselves.
Mhm.
Um, just kind of that as a broad statement to say two things. I've said this on the podcast before, but in 2012, I denounced teaching martial arts. I got all my students together and I said, I no longer teach martial arts. That's the bad news. The good news is you can still learn from me. I'm now teaching philosophy and motion. And I do this because if I get a student that comes in with the intent of self-defense, self-defense is usually the most changing one. So you get a student that comes in and they want to learn self-defense. They might be there for 6 months to a year, and then that need is fulfilled. They think that they know everything that they need to know for self-defense. And so then after that time, that student will drop off, you know? But if I am teaching philosophy and motion, and we are promoting that as part of the lifestyle of the dojo, sometimes the student's philosophy changes and it goes from self-defense to maybe being a docent for the martial arts, or maybe from self-defense to I got in pretty good shape, I want to get in better shape, et cetera, et cetera. And then they are able to change and still retain the environment. The other reason is that I wanted to ask, how many of your women do you think are doing it for self-defense? How many are doing it for competition? What do you think your mix is?
as and I'll speak amongst like the She Devil Club because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know women in the other clubs, but as my own club,
Yeah.
I would say 10 to 25% right now are there because they want to compete and they didn't come in wanting to compete. They came in and now they're starting to see the other girls do these little competitions. And so they're starting to, my little white belt are starting to go, I think I want to do that. And so probably 6 months down the
Hmm.
road, if you were to ask me that question, I think we're going to have several more girls that will be competing on a regular basis. Um, I think the rest of our population, I think there's probably even maybe a smaller population than that that is girls that want to do it for self-defense. I think maybe they came
Okay.
in initially for self-defense or they Googled searched and they found me from self-defense, that kind of thing. But I feel
Hmm.
like they are there because they get bit by the other stuff, the camaraderie, the community, the fitness, the fact that your body starts to tone up everywhere just from having a good time and working out. So I don't think a lot of women are starting jujitsu for self-defense as a lot of people think. I think some people do. Like I think you're Google searching
Hmm.
it and you're like women's self-defense, and then maybe you get off on this tangent and you start to message me, hey, can you tell me about your program? And when you hear, hey, you can come and try a class for free, come and sit and watch a class, that kind of thing. And then when they see that the way the women are interacting with each other, I think that's the what keeps them there. And if it's not, then if that's not for them, typically we know within a couple classes. And I feel like that's with men though too. Even as
Hmm.
around, I've been around 8 years
Hmm.
now, and I've seen a lot of men that come in,
Hmm.
and maybe it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, and they drop off too. So
Hmm. Yeah. Men are just more inclined to hit and punch and be brutal.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, do you have a personal martial arts philosophy that you live by or teach by, or um, martial arts lends itself to philosophy really heavy, less so in some sport, in some styles than other styles, but I didn't know if you had like something that is your cornerstone, so to speak.
Um,
No is also an acceptable answer to
Yeah,
any of these
probably
questions.
not really. I mean, I love philosophy and I just kind of believe in everything, like just do good things because you should. Like don't do it
Mhm.
for the couth or to get, a name or anything like that. Just do nice things when you should. Um,
Mhm.
and as far as like jujitsu, like I always want it to be offered to people even if finances don't allow for that. Like my
Right.
professor has always shown us like if you even if somebody can't afford jujitsu, you should train them. And so that's definitely
Mhm.
just been instilled from him to me, but not really
I
anything
love
else.
that one.
Yeah.
The martial arts is really expensive. Is really expensive to do. That's why I teach a lot for free myself too. Um, what is the one thing that you think most students neglect?
Consistency.
Mm.
And I think that's from a lot of things. I think that's like I got injured, and so now I've got to take 3 months off. My kids started basketball, and so now Tuesday nights aren't good for me because I have to drive them there for the next 3 months. Like things that come up in your life. But then also just like my husband when he started before me, he wasn't really consistent in his training, and so I think that slows you down in your progress. And then
Hmm.
when I started training, there was that fear like, oh shit, she's, climbing up real quick to where I was. So he became more consistent real quick. So probably consistency is probably what keeps people back the most in jujitsu.
Absolutely. In my base system is Shaolin Kempo, and in Shaolin Kempo, we say that you're only as good as your stack of paper is thick. And so you want to picture your training as a stack of paper. And every day that you train, you get to add one piece of paper to the stack,
Nice.
you know?
Yeah,
So it takes a long time to get a thick ream of paper as it was.
that's cool. I like
What
that.
is yeah, what is one technique or aspect of martial arts that you would like
all students to know? If you could teach or give them one lesson, what consistently would you give every?
One technique. Well, I'll just tell
Hmm.
you my favorite techniques.
Hmm.
I started a little nickname, or I was given a little nickname somewhere around blue belt as the lapel queen. I
Hmm.
do like to strangle people with their lapels and or just control them the whole time. Um, so I tend to make sure that I like teaching people grips. I have a very good grip. I like to play gi jiu-jitsu. So probably fundamental type things, obviously, and fundamental gi grips as well as using the lapels and not just forgetting that those are there and using them for control, but also for submissions.
That's good. Love all
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna use that sound bite of I like to choke people with their
I
gi.
do. Everybody knows that about me. I like
That's
to smash. I
that's
like
good.
heavy pressure. My game is a very heavy pressure, smashy, um, lapel oriented game.
For those that are watching, what size are you? How tall are you?
I am 5'3", and I
You're
typically,
5'3".
yeah, and I'm a
This
big
little
girl in
5'3" thing.
jujitsu. I sit
You're
around
5'3"
150
girl.
typically, yeah. But they say
So
that I feel like I'm 350 though. Like my pressure is pretty terrible. I have no trouble holding down very much larger opponents, even at 150. So I feel really good about that.
do you do anything other physically like to prepare? Do you lift weights or
There's been periods where I did work out, but really not too much since I started jujitsu. I do train 5 or 6 days a week, typically with jujitsu, and I struggle with some chronic pain issues. So typically, I'm hurting already from jujitsu and without jujitsu. So I try to like give my body a little bit of rest in between.
yeah, 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 sure. I was just wondering like if that pressure that you have is natural pressure or if it's pressure that was trained in some capacity.
That's my
It's got to be
professor, Professor
natural.
Butch.
Hmm.
That is, it's very funny. If you don't know that I'm a student of his and you roll and you've rolled with Professor Butch before and then you roll with me, everybody will
Hmm.
say, is Professor Butch your professor? Like our game is very much my game is his game, just on a mini level. He's
Okay.
probably
Hmm.
like I would guess 6'1", maybe like 200 pounds.
Okay.
And
Okay.
him and my friend Quinn have smashed me the whole time. And they would lay on top
Hmm.
of me and they would just sit there. And they would say shitty things to me about how they were gonna like if I was on the street, I'd punch you right now. So work on, like getting out from underneath them. And when I was on top,
Hmm.
they would do the same thing. They would just like shit talk me until I really pushed my pressure down on top of them. And then I also did, I've been able to go to a couple women's camps now. And there was a gal named Maggie, who I got a lesson on side control pressure. And it was just this, and as everything else in jujitsu, it was just this tiniest little bit of a detail as to where to apply the pressure to make it
Hmm.
worse. And so I really enjoy those little type things too. But yeah, definitely a learned art because I'm trying to teach the girls that, but they have a hard time with the pressure. They definitely complain about my pressure, and then they're getting there. Some of them are better than others for sure, but it's definitely learned.
That is really cool, especially because you're 5'3". I'm 6'5.5".
Oh,
So
geez.
like we always talk about how fundamentally things are different and like what would work for you might not work for me, vice versa. I would love to see what 5'3" pressure that is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
equivalent, what that looks like. What do you find there to be any fundamental difference between working out with, not learning from, but working out with men versus women? Do you find that you get, I don't think that you would get more from one than the other, but I think that you would get different things from them.
Yeah, so what I've learned from coming from that aspect of not wanting to have a women's club because I didn't want to separate myself, and then
Hmm.
then training with women as much as I do now, it allows a woman to become offensive. So when I'm playing with the men, or at least when I came up till purple belt, it was me learning via defending myself. So again, I was
Hmm.
trapped underneath these dudes and I was trying to find out how to get
Hmm.
myself out. And then when you finally get with a bunch of people that are your size, your strength, your height, and you're able to try your techniques offensively and try things, that was what I found was the benefit and the difference between training with men and with women. So I feel like with the women, I can go, I can try my technique, I can try my technique, and then when I can bring it back to the men, I've already been able to use it a little bit, and so it will help me to transfer it over to playing with men. And then I just definitely feel like, there's certain things that you do, there's certain techniques that you use on women and people that are your size, and then there's certain things you do on people that are bigger.
Hmm.
But, that goes for men
Hmm.
too. But that's the biggest
Hmm.
difference I've seen with men and women is that we can play offensively then. We don't have to be on the defense all the time.
That's wonderful. Sometimes I ask questions like that so that I can alter the way that I teach. So this
Awesome. Yeah.
podcast is
Yeah.
in some capacity selfish. Um, can you give us an example of a nuance that you learned to help with pressure? The idea behind this podcast is that it's geared for martial artists. So if you've been practicing, my I've been studying for 32 years, and I liked the approach of I've just been starting for 32 years.
Hmm.
So everybody's at the beginning. We're just at different stages of the beginning, in my opinion. And so I take that mentality with everything that I do, and I think that the idea is hopefully to have my listeners also have that attitude or that lens that they look at things.
Hmm.
And so the idea is let's always be learning, let's always be working with each other and growing with each other together. So just any sort of example about those minute little tweaks that you have gotten that help with pressure.
Of being underneath pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. First would be not to allow your opponent to settle. So that
Hmm.
as you become better at jiu-jitsu, you start learning when someone's transitioning between things in that split second time, or
Hmm.
after they've transitioned before they settle into their position. So that's the time to react. Framing, making sure that you're working on fundamental framing and getting your hands in that position so that the person is unable to collapse you.
Hmm.
Trying to keep yourself from being flat on your back, which we almost never want to do. And that's what the person on the top, that's what I'm telling them to do, is to flatten you out, get you flat on your back. So in your head, if you know that that's what they're supposed to be doing, you should be shrimping, getting yourself to the side, making some space there for yourself so that you can protect yourself in that space. That would be the super fundamental things in order to protect yourself and sit there for a minute if you had to, or to start to get yourself out of that position.
Wonderful. Do you have any interest or desire to learn any other styles, or are you going to be jiu-jitsu girl forever?
Um,
Both are is okay.
Probably just continue with like I'm on a stretching and kind of like not yoga but more like guided stretches journey. So probably no, I'll stick with jujitsu, mostly heavy gi jujitsu. I do try to get myself to do more no gi. So that if
Hmm.
anything, it'd probably just be pushing the no gi jujitsu and then more stretching and yoga type stuff.
But then the nogi doesn't have lapels, so
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it. And it's all sweaty, and you put your foot down and you slip in somebody's sweat, and I don't know how they do it. And then they're always attacking your legs and your feet. Yeah.
right. And compression clothes, they have a slickness to them once
Yeah.
you get going. Like once it gets stuck, it's like a wet Vaseline tarp or something. I don't like that either. I
Yeah.
like ghee. Um, have you checked out hold on, yoga for BJJ?
Yeah, I've heard
Are you
about that. Yeah.
you familiar with it? That's
Hmm.
it's an Instagram channel, and they also do stuff where they like do online classes and stuff like that. They're
Nice.
quite beneficial though. If you don't follow them on Instagram, it's worth a follow. I
Okay,
think they
I'll check
may
it
be
out.
on Facebook, but I don't know about that.
I know that people have mentioned it to me. I'm sure I've seen some of their stuff online.
Yeah. They have a presence and they're great. Um what is your pitch for women when they first come in? Like you just
Hmm.
like, do you want to get them on the mat? Do you want to get them to, and this doesn't have to be specifically women, just any
I
student.
don't think there is a pitch. I'm very much
Hmm.
myself in every fashion. I'm sometimes a little too much. I'm sometimes a little bit too blunt and upfront, and people like that and they stay around or they don't like it. Um, when I'm very kind to people because I just am in general, I listen to
Hmm.
people. I talk to them about why they came to class, like how they found me or why
Hmm.
they're at class. I try to talk to ladies in advance, like if they have any sort of triggers that we need to know about.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, I do a lot of follow up. So I'll check in on you and make sure you liked class or that kind of thing. I don't think there's necessarily a pitch. I just think that I try to be myself, and I feel like people appreciate that.
Absolutely. There's a certain level of authenticity that does need to be happen, or that does need to happen for any successful instructor, teacher, coach, professor, whatever label you want to,
Hmm.
sensei, seafood, whatever you want to go with.
Yeah. I think you
So
always find
that's
your tribe, you find the vibe of your tribe and that like I think you know that about people. Most people can read people's energy pretty well. And I think when you meet
Mhm.
someone, you know, like, okay, I could try this for a little bit, or you sense to yourself, I didn't, there's something about this person or this place that I really didn't like. And I think we're kind of, we can make that judgment intuitively pretty well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then our job is to create that good environment and that good tribe
Yeah,
for anybody that comes through.
for sure.
Do you have do you have any advice or anything that you want to make sure that anybody that is thinking about being a student knows? You like, I don't, this is not to somebody that has had any practice at all. It's somebody that has never been in a dojo or on a mat or even sat on the sidelines and watched a class, but they're thinking about it. Do you have any advice for them?
Give it a try. Go take the class, go watch the class.
Hmm.
You're gonna know, right almost right away. Like it's gonna either pique your interest and you'll be like, this is really freaking cool, or it's not gonna be for you. I think um, everybody can benefit from something from jujitsu, and I've had some people recently that have had some real physical ailments, which may limit their jujitsu technique. But I think if you just come and you try, mentally, you can still get a lot of benefits from it. And if you have the right person to coach you that's patient with you, you can still learn a lot. So I would say if you're thinking about it, just go and find a school that's close to you and try it out. And if you don't like the first one, maybe it's not the sport that turns you off, but maybe it was the coach that you met or the school that you're at. Maybe try to go to another one.
Absolutely. I was going to piggyback on what you were saying, but you
Mm,
hit it at the end. Is like, if you don't find that right teacher or
yeah,
even the tribe or environment, there's there's a plenty of them. So
yeah.
that
There's a
one might not
difference
have
of
been for
like,
you, and the other one.
yeah, like if you walk in and you see jujitsu for the first time and you're just like, oh, like I didn't realize that you guys were going to be on the floor touching each other. Like, maybe jujitsu
Right.
is not for
Right.
you, but if you're just like, I don't know,
Right.
that guy was kind of like, I didn't really like his
Hmm.
manner, then go to somebody else because
Right.
there's jujitsu everywhere these days, and that's why that it's important to find whatever that niche is because that's what's going to make that school or that club or whatever stand out.
Hmm. Yeah, or also like you were welcomed in the mostly boys club,
Yeah.
and that is something that doesn't happen in every martial arts school,
Hmm.
unfortunately. There are some
Right.
that are
Yes.
boys only. There are some that are, there are some that are no kids allowed, and so
Yeah.
like a teenager even that is really good, they can't go and learn. So it is okay to like bounce around, shop around, and
Yeah.
find what you're looking for. I've actually told a lot of people, you're not, when you shop for a martial arts school, you're not shopping. Style is third on the list because the first thing is the instructors. Do you like the instructors? Are they jerks or not? Are they, like
Yeah.
they have to pass that test? And then the second is the environment of the school, which is a reflection of the instructor because the instructor
Absolutely.
does create the school environment. And then the third is the style, so
Right.
shop in that order. Um, where can people find you?
I teach in Pinellas and Pasco County, so I teach at the Jiu-Jitsu Project. That's my home dojo. That's in Tarpon Springs. I teach ladies
Hmm.
classes there, and then I also teach ladies classes at my second dojo, which is Ethereal. My friend Jay B. Harry runs that school. That's in Newport Richey, close to my house. And then I teach She Devil classes and co-ed classes at Rising Tide in Clearwater, which is so our school. We've been lucky enough, the Jiu-Jitsu Project. We have sister schools around us, which we can go and
Hmm.
cross train at, or we have good relationships with. So Rising Tide is another one of our sister schools in the network. And again, all three of those schools have been kind enough to allow me to offer the women's classes there to the community for free. And then I have the co-ed classes, which I really enjoy at Rising Tide also.
Awesome. Offline, I will get from you links and I'll put
Okay.
those in the show notes so
Okay.
that people can find you if they want to.
Appreciate it.
Uh, any other final thoughts? No?
Not
Wonderful.
really.
Okay. So I want to thank you for taking the time to do this interview with me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for
Thanks.
sharing your knowledge. As doing so, I also thank all of my guests for being a part of my martial arts journey. And I cannot express how much that means to me.
Thank you.
So thank you. And thank you all for listening and keep kicking.
Have a great
Thank you for listening. That was a great conversation, although a quick one. I've got a couple of things in the works that I'm not ready to talk about just yet. Amazing stuff, wonderful times. I will say once again, if you would like to be on this podcast, you can reach out to me at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. You can also reach me on Facebook. I'm fairly easily accessible. Um, Also, please, please, please check the show notes. Check out Bella. Give her love, give her support. Check out everybody in the show notes, everybody that wants to be reached. I have links so that you can reach them. Show them some love, show them some support. I mean, that's why we're here, right? We're here to talk to each other, to have meaningful conversations. We're here to support each other and lift each other up because I can't do it without you and you can't do it without me. I'm out.